If you're enjoying Pigoted Podcast, then why not sign up to our Patreon? You can find it at patreon.com/pigoted, and on there you get loads of extra benefits, such as early access to episodes. You get access to Pigoted Extra, which is extra content from our guests, usually about 45 minutes to an hour long of extra content every single week. You get merchandise, you get to ask questions, you get to be part of our Discord community. We have a Discord server where people chat and ask questions and discuss topics that have been brought up on the podcast. You get all that through Patreon, and it starts from just £3 a month. Plus, you'll be supporting the podcast. You'll be helping the podcast to grow, helping us to fund bigger and better guests and to pay for all the editing and that kind of thing. So please, if you are enjoying Pigoted, then think about signing up and becoming a Patreon from just £3 a month over at patreon.com/pigoted. Welcome to Pigoted Podcast. Joining us today is an old friend of the pod. It is Joe Samui. Hi, Joe.
Hello there.
How are we?
I'm great. Yeah,
your
good.
Flat Earther episode has come out. A lot of people are fucking fuming. But you wanted to come back. The minute that we finished that episode, you were like, I've got to get back, because there's so much that we didn't talk about.
Yes.
And I loved having you on. I loved talking to you. And so I was like, let's get you on. Yeah. Now, you mentioned with regards to a guest that you'd like to get any sort of guest on, or, you know, so I think your thing was, you said someone who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, and we was on first base last time, so it was like, it was awkward for me, because it was like I had to keep explaining things to you, so we wasn't really, it didn't go the way I planned.
So this will be second base, and then the next time we meet, we'll fuck.
Yeah. Party on.
But you said, get somebody who knows what they're talking about. And I thought to myself, who do I know that knows who they're talking about? And I managed to get a friend of a friend to introduce me to Ben. Hi, Ben. Hi. Now, usually we have a comedian with this, but Ben is not a comedian. Joe. Ben, you are quite qualified in to talk about space.
I would hope so. I hold a PhD in astrophysics.
Great. That's what I wanted.
This is going to be brilliant. Yes. Right, okie dokie. So let's strap ourselves in. You look worried.
No, I'm excited.
You excited?
Yeah, that's what I said. To get an astrophysicist, didn't I?
Okay, so let's pick up where we left off last time. So just so we're all on the same wavelength, can you quickly just go over again what you subscribe, your model of Earth?
Well, I don't, do I? I just, as I said last time, a flat earther, and there's a lot of flat earthers, they're called a flat earther, but they don't believe in a globe Earth flying through space. So they could be, it could be a hollow Earth, it could be all kinds of different Earths. So I don't claim on a specific model. Last time I was explaining about a geocentric model, which was a fully 2,000-year-old ancient cosmology. That was a fully working way. People didn't believe it was. You know, people knew. And then what I'm saying is, in the last 500 years, they've got everyone off the flat, motionless plane onto a spinning ball flying through space. Okay. So, as for me, and last time I was explaining it, but I don't claim for any model of Earth. I just say, look, all you used to have is a belief system about a spherical globular Earth, right? And I'm here today to say that you're being lied and blagged big time.
Okay, you've been lied and blagged big time, Ben. Yep. So he mentioned that there's a belief system. What is our belief system that the Earth is round? What's that based on?
Well, okay, I would take issue with belief system, because the fundamental principle of science is you change your point of view depending on observations. So there is no orthodox, dogmatic, this is what things are. There is just, this is the best model that we have that matches the observations we've got. And the best model we have that matches the observations we've got is that the Earth is a spinning globe, an oblate spheroid that orbits the sun, which flies around the Milky Way, all of which originated in the Big Bang.
Do we know it's not flat?
Yes.
So how do we know that it's not flat?
Okay, so there are a number of different ways you can tell. And this is another point I would like to raise, is there is no sort of this is the conclusive proof that the Earth is flat. It is the preponderance of multiple different forms of evidence.
Okay.
So I would say if you want like the one singular how to prove that the Earth is not flat, the orientation of the moon in the sky changes depending on your latitude.
Okay. The orientation of the moon in the sky.
The movement of the moon.
No, which way up the moon looks. So if you go to the southern hemisphere and you look up into the sky, you see the same moon that we see, all the same features, but they're the other way up.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because you are physically the other way up.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Okay. So would you like an explanation for that on a flat Earth model?
Yes,
Hit me,
100%.
Right. Okay. So if that table was Earth and there's a moon with the pattern in the middle of it, with this, the pattern it is. So if you were standing here, you'd see the opposite pattern than you would on the other end of the table. So that explains what you've just said. Think about it. Does that make sense?
What's at the center of your disk? Is it the North Pole?
True magnetic North Pole. It's called Mount Meru, Mount Sumeru.
Right.
Yes.
So if you're traveling into the southern hemisphere, on the flat Earth model, you are moving further from the center.
Yes.
So, yeah, you can be over this side of the disk, looking up at the moon, see it the other way up to somebody on this side of the disk.
Difference.
But that's not going to change if you move along that radial line. You're still going to see it always the same way up. But that radial line... Radial, from the center, along the radius.
Okay.
So there should not be, on a flat disk, a point where you get far enough away from the center, looking at the moon, looking at the moon, looking at the moon. Oh, it's flipped the other way up. Just because you've stepped over the equator, which on a flat disk is just a circle.
Is in the middle of the circle, yes.
Yeah.
I feel like he makes a really good point. I feel like he's fucking summed this up in 6 minutes.
So that's, you're saying that proves that we couldn't see the moon the way it is on a flat, on a plane.
That is one way that we wouldn't see the moon the way it is.
See, if we're comparing here, it's like I'm not here to support any model. I can explain bits for you, just for the viewers to go, well, how, because they want to know, well, how can this work, how can that work? So I'm more about the globe, like.
But what shape could it be that would support what he's just said? So this idea that the orientation of the moon changes depending on when you're in the northern or southern hemisphere, can't that only happen on a globe? I mean,
really?
Actually, thinking about it.
Thinking about it. Oh, here we go. Oh, imagine if this. Oh, fucking hell! I've not imagined this scenario, but imagine if Joe turns you flat Earth, I'd just fucking jump off a cliff or something.
You still wouldn't join us, would you?
I still wouldn't join you. No, I just
glasses full.
Do you know what? I'd delete the episode and I'd go, oh, there was a problem with recording. Cut all ties with Ben.
Got to hand my PhD back in.
So could I just, like, if we're speaking about the globe, if you just say, yeah, that's correct. So it's a globe Earth of 25 miles in circumference.
25,000 miles.
25,000 miles in circumference, yeah. With a radius of 3,900 and I think it's,
Yep.
So then, and it spins at the equator at 1,038 miles an hour. So it's,
sounds about right.
Yeah. And then it's orbiting at 66,000.6 miles per hour around the sun.
So I used to work in kilometers. No, that's about right.
You in kilometers, yeah. And then the sun is moving at 500,000 miles per hour and things like that. So, and the globe Earth is 73% water.
By surface area, yep.
Yeah. What else? The sun's 93 million miles away. Yeah. The moon is 2,039,000 miles.
I have not got all of these memorized. It's really nice to have somebody else sum up my position.
I've had to learn about the globe first because I tried to find fundamental proof for the globe, and I couldn't find one. That's why I become a flat earther.
Okay.
Well, you never know. Like, this might be This might be a moment where you turn round, Joe, and you go, fuck.
Who, me?
Yeah,
To go back and jump on the globe?
Yeah, you might be.
Oh, it's a dunce ball. That globe is just an imaginary dunce ball.
But how do you explain what he's talking about then? What other shape could the world
because
be?
you can't. As I've explained, if it's there and I see, I want to see a different reversed pattern than he was. If it was in the middle of us, I'd look up and I'd see a different pattern than if I was in
to correct my previous statements, if the moon is flat and local and orbits exactly above the equator, then you'd get a northern-southern divide because you'd be looking in those directions. So, true, but how do you not see it as a flattened disk?
The moon. How do I not see it? I don't
if
see
it's a flat disk here and you look up,
I don't say the moon's a flat disk.
No, I'm saying like, okay, so if the moon is a sphere and it's local, somebody over here and somebody over here, we're going to see it the other way up. We're also going to see different sides of it.
You're going to see different sides of it.
Yeah. Can you hold your hat up for me?
Oh, yeah, because it's half.
All right, okay. I was worried then that you were going to go, Freddie's big fat bald head is the moon. It was just some amazing science slam. That's how long I've spent around comics. Anytime anyone asks me to do anything, I think I'm setting myself up for a fall. Right, I'm holding my hat up. Upside down.
Yeah.
Either way, it doesn't really matter. Right. So I can see that logo. You can't.
No.
Nope. So we're seeing it the other way up relative to each other, but we should also see just different amounts of it.
This is great material for audio podcast listeners.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to watch the demonstration live, head over to youtube.com/bigoted, and you'll be able to see me holding a hat above my head like it's the graduation for a course that I didn't fucking qualify from.
So, you're saying I can't see that logo?
I'm saying you can't see the logo on the front of Freddie's hat because it's pointing at me. Mm-hmm. And there's an amount of hat between you and me that blocks your view of it. So that's if the moon is a sphere. If the moon's a flat disk, then you're going to see it foreshortened by perspective. So we see the moon in the sky as a pretty much perfect circle. But if that's tilted because it points down at the Earth, you're going to see it as a...
You can only see the moon in 2D though, can't you? You can't see the back of the moon. We've never ever seen the back of the moon.
Not with our naked eyes, no.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't explain for that. What I believe with the moon to be, it does look spherical. All the other planets, which are called wandering stars and geocentric, they just like discs. I get a close up of them on my camera. So as for the moon, I just see it as a luminary, a semi-translucent light, basically. I don't see it.
The moon's casting its own light?
Oh yeah, of course it is. Yeah, there's proof to do that in experiment.
Oh, of course
It's not reflecting off the sun.
I have a question very quickly.
Well, you've got your hand up.
May I was going to say, may I, can I revert back to normal and put my hand down, please? Thank fuck for that. I was just wondering how long that was going to have to go on. So go on, the moon casts its own light, you were saying?
The moon's got its own light. The both of them have given off their own light source. So do you believe that the moon is getting its light from the sun?
Yes.
So is anything spherical and you believe it's spherical? If you shine any light on a spherical object, it won't light up the full surface of it. It'll just do it to a fixed point. If you got like a flyaway, a shooty, just in a normal spherical ball, if you've got a torch, if I went like that with a torch, it wouldn't light up half of the ball. Is
that not because, again, I'm jumping in here with my qualifications of fuck all, but is that not because you're 2 feet away from the ball with a torch? If you were incredibly far away from the ball with an incredibly powerful torch that could light up not just that ball, but a lot of stuff around it, then it would light up more of the surface area.
It wouldn't light up. It wouldn't light up. Look, if I got a light here, it's only light up the most outer point.
Yeah, but we're talking about, the way that you're talking about it is not the proportions that it is. So you're talking about if you got a ball and lit it up with a torch and we were several feet away, but if you want to do it accurately, surely it would be a marble with a fucking ginormous, huge stadium spotlight.
Even on a marble, it wouldn't. So that's one reason.
Okay, so just so I make sure I'm understanding this properly, if you have, rather than a torch, because a torch is directional, let's say just a light bulb.
Yes.
And you've got a ball, you only expect to see the point on the surface of the
Yeah,
ball.
it'll only shine on the most outer point of it. It won't go around the rest of the edges of it.
You ever held a ball up to a light bulb?
A ball up to a light bulb?
Yeah,
Can you see that table?
Yes.
Why can you see that table?
Why can't I? Because it's lit up.
Yeah, it's lit up by
That
a
table's
bunch of lights, and when the light hits the object, the light scatters on the surface and reflects off in
That's because
a bunch of different directions.
that object's flat. It's not spherical, is it? Like the moon's supposed to be.
My absolute head's fallen off. I have no idea what's going on.
Okay. If you get, say you get a flyaway ball, a shiny ball, yeah, and you shine any type of light at it, it's not going to light up half of the ball, is it? It's only going to do it at a fixed point, the most outer boulder point.
Okay, so
that's
this
what I'm
depends.
saying.
This depends on the surface of the object. So if you've got a really smooth, flat surface, like, say, a highly polished car, like you get very coherent reflections because the light comes in, bounces off, angle of exit is the same as angle of incidence. Like that's how a mirror works. That's why you can like look in a mirror and see your own face because the light is bouncing off in a very coherent way.
Right.
If you've got a much rougher surface, what you have when you zoom in and in and in and in is rather than a smooth, knock the microphone there, rather than a smooth, flat surface, you've got lots of little bumps and ridges, little deformations.
Okay.
So, I mean, you just run your hands over, say, sandpaper.
Yeah.
Like, you can feel them. That means the light's coming in and it's hitting all those little deformations and it's reflecting off each one at a very fixed angle. But summed up over the whole surface, that's a lot of random angles. So if you're shining a light at a ball,
Yeah.
yep, it's going to be strongest at the center. Like if the light's like where you're looking at it from.
Because a flyaway has a very, you know what a flyaway is?
I do not.
Just
Do you not?
cheap throwaway ball.
Yeah, a flyaway is a really cheap football. Costs about
Plastic
99p.
shiny
It's like a little plastic thing. It's called a flyaway because when you kick it, it goes in unpredictable directions because it's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But it's loads of fun to play football with because you fucking score absolute worldies. But it's a very cheap, shiny surface. Whereas with the moon, it's all textured and
Dust
So
and
they
rock
say.
and
So you believe that the moon's reflecting light off the sun,
yes.
but it's dusty. So when they done the moon landings, when there's supposed moon landings, there's no really light coming off it then, is it? Just dust. So you're saying that the moon, it's like a mirror, basically. It reflects from the sun.
I mean, it's a really shit mirror because it doesn't reflect coherently.
When you see the supposed photographs of when they're on the moon, none of it's lit up. They're on the moon, it's all dusty and dark, isn't it? So how can it be reflecting off the sun? Do you with me there, Fred?
Hang on.
Go, you're gonna have to say it one more time for me, so I'm with you.
So the moon is meant to be reflecting the sun's light.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when they done the moon landings, all the photographs of it, it's just dusty and dark. There's no reflection going on there, is there?
But reflection from what?
The sun, because it's meant to be.
But I would argue a couple of things. Like number one, the moon landings were like 1966 or whatever. Like
69 for the first
69,
one.
whatever. Like cameras were utterly dog shit back then anyway, let alone a camera that had to record footage from that far away. And yeah, secondly, like just because it looks
Dusty
like bright,
and dark, really dusty and
but it
dark.
looks bright in the sky. But that doesn't mean that it'll be that bright when you get
When
there,
you're on
does
there.
it?
Well, if we were standing on that table now, we'd be in light. It'd be dead light. If that was the moon and that was the sunlight, this light that we've got going on here, it'd be light. But do you know there's an experiment that we could do to prove that the moon gives off its own light source?
I feel like this is going to involve a field trip to the car
you've never
park.
heard this, have you, Ben? Right. So we can do an experiment ourselves to prove that it's got its own unique, cool light source. So
Hang on. You're going to have to explain cool light source?
Yeah, because the moon gives off a cooler light, a cooler temperature than what the sun does. Okay. So, okay, let's say if the sun's reflecting, if the sun's hitting the moon and then the moon's reflecting light back down, if we were to get a thermometer and stick it in the moon shine, right? If to do it in the sun of the day, it'd go hot, wouldn't it? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So yeah, here's an experiment we could do. We get 2 cups of, say it's full moon, yeah?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Get 2 cups of water with 2 thermometers in, yeah? Take them outside and put them in the moon shade.
Okay.
Right, 2 of them in the moon shade for an hour.
When you say the moon,
Yeah, because you've got in the night, you've got the moon shine and the moon shade, haven't you?
Okay, so you say so somewhere where the moonlight isn't hitting
it, yeah.
Okay, so if we put 1 cup of water...
No, 2 of them.
Oh,
so for an hour, and let them settle in temperature.
So if we put 1... So just so I've got this right, 2 cups of water with thermometers in them. We go outside at the dead of night. We put 1 in the middle of the moonlight.
2 of them just to start off, so we they'll level off the same temperature. Let's pick a temperature, whatever.
Right. Okay.
Okay, and then
so after put 2 of them in the shade. They level off at say 6 degrees.
Yeah. Okay. So then, if we moved one of them cups with the thermometer in and moved it into the moon shine, would the temperature go higher or lower?
Lower.
I don't imagine
it'd go lower or higher because of the heat off the sun.
So you're doing this at night, so there's no sunlight. You've just got the moonlight.
There's no sunlight, but the sun's hitting the moon to give that energy light we can see for the moon shine.
Yep.
So would you think it'd go higher or lower, the temperature from being in the dark shade?
I do.
What would you say for that?
Well, if I had to guess, and I'm not a scientist, I would say that I'd imagine it'd stay the same or be very, very similar or close to being the same.
Nope, it'll go down.
It'll go down.
It'll go down.
It'd go cooler or warmer?
Cooler.
So how come?
But I've just said it's a cold, cooler light source, and you said, it's warm.
Not because of the moon's light. Because you've gone out in the middle of the night, you've put 2 things in something with shade over it, and then you've taken one out and you've put it under the open sky. That shade is going to trap hotter air close to the ground. So it will always be warmer in the shade even at night because that's trapping more heat.
That doesn't make no sense because you're moving it into the sun's energy, light in the shade.
The moon's a really shitty reflector. You're not going to get a lot of energy.
You would think it'd go warmer because you're putting it basically in a reflected sunlight.
But he's saying, like he said before, that the moon as a reflector is dog shit. Is really bad because...
So here's how you really prove it, right?
Okay.
So you do this experiment, you do it at a full moon. You say, right, okay, I'm going to put it out in the moonlight. It's going to go down. If you do the same thing at a new moon, so you're not getting the light from the moon at all, you will see a very similar temperature drop just because you're moving out under the open sky. The difference between the two is that when you put out under the moon, it won't drop quite as much because you're getting a tiny bit of extra energy from the moonlight.
So that energy's got to be a hot energy, I think.
Yeah.
It off the sun, doesn't it? Yeah. But when you move one of them thermometers into the moon, it goes 2 degrees colder. So I'd say that, and a lot of people are saying that means that moon's giving off its own light source.
Have you done the control experiment?
Pardon?
Have you done the control experiment?
Yeah, we've done this in Dumfries, yeah.
Well, hang about, just right. So
I've done that experiment.
So let's say that the moon was giving off its own light source.
Yes.
Then wouldn't that light heat the?
No, it's a cool light.
It's a cool light.
The sun's more of a greater light, and then the moon's a lesser light.
How does so? I've not seen like so I don't unless I'm being thick. I don't know of any light that cools things down.
That would be because it's impossible.
It'd be I would think everyone else I've asked that they'd go, well, you put it in the light, that energy, it'd go warmer. And I go, no, it goes cooler by 2 degrees.
But it doesn't do it to anything else. So there's no other light where you pop it in front of something and the light makes it cooler. That's what I'm trying to work out.
I know it doesn't. So if we done it in the day, right, once we had the 2 cups, kept it in the shade, and then we moved one of the cups over into the sunlight, it'd go a lot hotter, wouldn't it?
Yep, because you're getting a shit ton of energy off the sun.
You would think that would be the same with the moon because it's reflecting. That light energy you can see in the moon's shine is from the sun, so you'd expect it to go higher. So
there is a tiny contribution from the moonlight, like getting a little bit of heat off that.
Yeah.
And the big difference is just you've put it under the open sky, you're not trapping heat, so it's going to be colder.
But if you put it in the moonlight, it's given off. It should be heat. I'm saying.
So basically, what we're saying is it's 2 different things. So the reason that it gets colder, you're saying, is because it's under the coolness of the moonlight.
The moon owned self.
Whereas you're saying that the shaded area traps the heat, and that's why it's cooler in the open air. Now,
clear nights are colder than cloud
I think surely there's a way of proving this or disproving it either way, and that's to do it on a night where there's no moonlight. So if you did it on a night where there's no moonlight,
They'd stay the same.
Then, well, no, they'd go down. Okay, so if it stayed the same, then you'd be right.
Yep.
But if it dropped heat, then you'd be wrong, wouldn't you? Because there's no moonlight to cool that object down, so you'd have to concede that it's being cooled down by something else, correct?
The two of them would cool down.
No. So if we did this experiment on a night where there's no moonlight, it's a cloudy day, whatever, there's no moonlight. If we did the experiment where we put the two cups of water under the shade and then moved one into the open night.
But it's all shaded if there's no moonlight, so that's pointless. You can't take the two cups in the shade and then move it to another bit of shade and go.
No. But you're moving it into the open air.
Open air.
Yeah. So.
But it's all the same air, isn't it? Because there's no moonlight coming down.
But if it continued,
you with me there, Ben? That's.
But if it continued to cool down, then you'd have to concede that it was something else. If they stayed the same,
it stayed the same. Yeah.
No. But if it cooled down
in the shade,
in the open air. If it cooled in the open air, then you'd have to concede that was due to something other than the moonlight. Yeah?
Okay, yeah.
So we can do that experiment. We should do that experiment for our Patreons.
Yeah. We do the experiment, but you need the moonlight because you need to get that energy to see. But that proves that it gets it colder.
But if we do this without moonlight...
And then do it with moonlight.
So look,
that's what I'm saying. Do it without moonlight, leave it out for an hour, and then move it in moonlight and go. Oh, it's
But if we did it on a night where there was no moonlight, and the cup's temperature dropped in the open air, then you'd have to admit that that's down to something other than the moonlight because there ain't no moonlight.
Yeah, that's the normal temperature of the Earth of when the
because the other cup would be hot, would be a different temperature because that's under the shade.
We'd have to do that,
which is what he's talking about.
We'd have to do that then.
So that's what we'll have to do.
Okay, and we'd have to do with the moonlight and the moon shade. So that means that the moonlight, the one that I'm on about, means that the moonlight is. But it is a cold light here.
So if we were to do that experiment and what happened is not what you expected, but exactly what he said happened, would you then...
This is your assumption, isn't it? He hasn't assumed this.
No, but if it was to happen exactly how he said, then would you go, maybe I was wrong about the moon?
Maybe I was wrong. I was honest. Like last time I said, I'm honest. I will not go and try and beat around the bush. Well, I will be honest. And
you mentioned something else interesting as well, so we'll move on to this about water. So you said last time...
Physics.
We didn't... You said last time, you were good. You go, we didn't mention water.
Yes.
And I was like, what is there about water?
This is why this guy's here now, physics.
And you went, water always finds its level.
Is that correct? Is the physics of water, fluid body mechanics, is to, if it's not contained, if it's contained, the top surface of the water is to always find its own level. If you take it out of that container, it'll rush to its lowest point and level itself out and make a puddle on the floor. Is that the physics of water?
Yeah.
Correct. Great.
Yeah, I mean that's
okay.
That's what I know water to do.
That's the behaviour
for a given value of level.
Pardon?
For a given value of level.
Level. Water's the best measuring tool in the world. Always has been.
Okay. In terms of what?
In anything. It's water is the best measuring tool.
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty shit
in a body of
how
water.
long a piece of string is, but
it's a lot better.
But for levels and stuff like that, then because I know what you're talking about. Like when I have a shower, you can observe the water hitting off you and puddling around your feet if you've got a shit shower that's clogged with hair.
It'll always seek to find its lowest point if it's not.
And then
contained.
It goes down the drain. It goes down the drain, and it goes down, and it keeps going down. Like I've never in my life ever had a shower and some fucking water particles have just like gone that way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it always goes. Yeah.
So
okay.
if that's correct, could you give me a prime example of water sticking to any shaped object?
I'm assuming you won't accept the Earth.
Well, obviously, no, because of a topic like this, we can't. That's out of our reach. Could you demonstrate or replicate another of water conforming to the exterior of a shape? Is that possible, or is that not in our reality?
So there are plenty of examples of water sticking to things.
Oh, yeah, to a shape.
I've got a drip on my tap you can come and have a look at.
A body of water.
I mean,
No, in
how
a body,
big is a
let's
body
talk.
of water?
Not drips, because we do know a drip of water will curve. But
Okay.
besides that, a prime example of water sticking to an object, a shape, the exterior of a shape.
But
Is
that not because, and again, I don't have, I can't mention this enough, I'm not a scientist. Is that not because the objects do not generate their own gravitational pull? So if you have
all objects generate a small amount of gravitational pull,
but not enough to
So
cause curvature of water.
it can't be demonstrated, observed, can it?
I just assume
The question I've just asked you.
this is me going with GCSE. I think
Yeah.
I got a B in science, but I just assumed that you got the Earth, this ball, and it's fucking huge, and because it's dead big, it generates quite a lot of gravitational pull, and that gravitational pull just so happens to be enough to hold the water in the shape that we see it.
So
Because
that leveling behavior you're talking about is water finding its lowest point of potential energy.
Yeah, and sorry, go on.
So in a system that has gravity, the lowest point of potential energy is the lowest gravitational potential energy. So it will try and level out, as you say.
Yeah.
But that only works if the gravity always pulls in exactly one direction. If you're around a spherical body where the gravity always pulls to the center of the spherical body, because that's how gravity works, then the equipotential surface is a sphere. So the water will conform to a sphere.
Yeah, but that's only in this supposed globe that we're talking about today. It can't be repeated, demonstrated again. You can't demonstrate water sticking to an object for me, can you?
Okay, try this one.
Okay.
Right. When's high tide? Actually, I don't know any high tides off the top of my head. You can have a high tide somewhere and a low tide somewhere else,
Yes.
right? But if your Earth is flat, that means the water's sloping like this.
I'm not, because we could just be playing tennis on each other. I'm here to just say that you're being lied to. It's just a belief about the globe. So if you could send that back to me to explain that. But what I can say about that, if you believe that the moon's gravitation pulls the tides back and forth, all bodies of water back and forth, bodies of water, yeah, why doesn't it do it to big lakes? Because it only does it in oceans, tides back and forth. I'll admit tides come back and forth. So if it does it to all bodies of water that you've just admitted, why doesn't it do it to lakes?
So on a sufficiently large lake, that effect will be measurable.
We don't see it though, do we?
I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I would put money on it.
I think the majority of us would say lakes don't get affected by the moon's gravity.
So
the other effect you're seeing is like lakes contain a reasonably limited quantity of water. They tend to be fed by a river, and then they tend to be fed out by a river.
Or a quarry, even.
Or a quarry, yeah. So you're not going to get the big tidal swells that you see on the ocean, which can pull water from thousands of miles away. You're going to see tiny tidal swells that can only pull water from like the other side of the lake.
Oh, I thought it's just on all bodies of water. So when I do say that to people, they go, oh, well, it's like, so you can't see it. What you're saying is you can't notice it. Or it can't be measured, the tide on a lake or a quarry coming back and forth.
Or could it be the case that, like, other things are happening in the lake that affect it more than they would an ocean? So, like, currents
absolutely.
and flows and stuff like that.
Yeah, we have currents and tides and things in.
But this is a much larger body. When it's a smaller body of water, the effect's going to be smaller. But if it's a smaller body of water, the effect of the tide is going to be smaller, and so it's more prone to things like currents and stuff messing with it and making it harder to observe. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
My head's...
Yeah, I just... Have you ever thought of that before? The moon doesn't affect lakes. Have you? Be honest.
I've not considered it in any detail.
See, yeah.
If we wanted to get a nice isolated bucket of water and some very precise measuring equipment, I'm sure we could detect it.
In a bucket of water, the gravity of the moon's pull.
So
well,
going back to the thing about water and gravity and stuff like that. So in my head, my understanding is that because the Earth's fucking massive, it
25. It's not that big. 25,000 miles. In
Okay,
circumference.
well, it's the biggest thing on Earth.
It's the biggest thing on Earth.
Yeah,
the
Earth is the biggest
thing
yeah.
on Earth.
Yeah.
I don't get you. How's the bird? Yeah, the Earth's supposed to be big.
But you said it's not
biggest
very,
thing.
yeah, but you said it's not very big. There's nothing bigger on Earth. It's the biggest. Yeah, but it's the.
I was when I first learned that.
But it's the biggest thing. But it's still the biggest thing in the world. There's nothing bigger than Earth on Earth. So you say it's not very big. It's bigger than everything that you've ever seen, all put together.
That's if you believe in
fact,
it, though,
all
isn't
the
it?
things that you've seen,
Yeah.
all of them, all put together, is not even a tiny amount as big as what the Earth is.
Well, they say the moon's 93 million miles away, so you can see that, and you think, if I was to go down the circumference of the Earth, you'd think there's a lot of 25,000 miles.
I do 30,000 miles a year. Unless confused.com are listening, in which case I do 6,000 miles a year. My car's parked in a garage. Yeah. I'm not at a train station about a third of a mile away from my house because I've only got one car parking space. So I drive an awful lot, and it baffles my mind that I every year drive the entire circumference of the Earth and then a bit more. That to me is insane. But going back to what I was saying, in my head, the Earth's fucking massive, and therefore it has a much bigger gravitational pull than, let's say, a football. Like so much bigger that you can't even you can't even measure the two, right? Mm-hmm. The football might have a tiny gravitational pull, and the Earth has a fucking massive one because it's so much bigger. Now, the Earth's gravitational pull is so strong that water will conform around it, whereas the reason that when it's raining, a football doesn't cover itself with water is because it doesn't have that same gravitational pull because it's not as big.
And also, it's in the Earth's gravitational pull.
Oh, so it's
from the centre of the Earth.
So you're holding a football.
Yeah.
Like, if you were holding a football in a vacuum, in space, with no other gravitational sources around you, the water will stick to the football.
Really?
Because if there's no other sources of gravity, then the gravitational force between the football and the water is the only force you need to worry about.
So the reason that the water doesn't stick to the football is because the Earth's gravitational pull is so much stronger that the water hits the football and goes, fuck you, and goes straight to the Earth.
Yeah, so it can't be demonstrated, can it? That's one point that I say. Or could you demonstrate another big
when he
mass?
mentions, just a sec, but when he mentions, so you said, name another example of water sticking to an object. The reason that he can't is because everything will be overridden because Earth is bigger.
Yep.
Everything will be overridden.
Yeah, because the Earth's gravitational pull is so
science?
much more.
That's not science then, is it? If it can't be observed and measured, it can't be observed or repeated. We can't repeat bodies of water sticking to an object and staying there. So I don't see that as science.
But the reason...
Because it can't be...
But you can repeat it by putting a football or whatever in a vacuum.
Have you ever done that in a vacuum?
No, I have not had a chance to go to space.
Well, there you go. That's
really
how.
Sad about it.
Whereas, no offense, you're an astrophysicist, right? Mm-hmm. That's got nothing to do, nothing whatsoever. Because I say that it's the biggest lie ever told. So everything. So look up there, and they set all these astrophysicists and this and that, all these learning about what goes on in the sky. That proves nothing. What we do back here in this reality.
Oh, it proves all sorts of things.
Okay, let's. Okay. So before with the water one, because we're saying that's a big thing. So we can agree water is level. If it gets contained, what shape is the surface of the water?
If you've got a container, what, this big?
And then we can go bigger. So let's say, a test tube, top of the water.
Top of the water in a test tube is an inverse parabola because it forms a meniscus.
The top of the water.
Yeah,
what
you
shape
put
is
water
it?
in a test tube, you get the
bottom of it. It conforms to the container.
It conforms to the bottom, and the top dips down slightly because
so you can't say water's not level. You've just agreed water's level.
No, it's not level in a test tube.
The top of water will always be level. That's why it's called sea level. So if we get in a cup or anything, the surface will be level.
Okay, it's two experiments for you.
It can't support itself in any way, water.
Oh, fuck, he's right, you know. Look.
What?
See, look, you can see. You see that little dip?
Yeah.
Is that what
So
you're
what's
talking
that
about?
called?
So
Meniscus, he said.
Meniscus.
Look,
Is
so
that
the
when it's
surface
in
tension-
small things?
Yeah, in small
Only
things.
small, yeah,
there you
that's
go. I'll
correct,
point it
meniscus.
to the camera.
So let's go.
Just Google test tube water.
Okay, let's go to a bathtub.
Okay.
Yeah,
So in a
what's
bathtub,
what?
scaled up pretty significantly. So the surface tension effect that you're seeing in the test tube is much, much smaller, proportionate to the water.
Yeah.
So it will dip up very slightly around the edges, but not really enough to be observed. Over the length of a bathtub, it will be pretty much flat, except not entirely flat. There will be a tiny, tiny curve. Now, that might be too small to measure.
Yeah, it's
it's
unmeasurable,
there.
so it's not science if you reckon that there is. Because water, it's a fundamental fact that water, the surface of it, is flat. So let's go bath to a swimming pool. Where undisturbed pool is flat. So if you go to a lake, we stand at a lake, the top of the water surface is flat, isn't it?
No,
On a lake.
on a lake, yeah.
So is it concave or convex?
Slightly convex, because it conforms to the gravitational potential of the Earth, which is curved. If you go out to... you find yourself a nice...
You're going against what you
long,
say
but
by
not
saying
particularly wide lake, right? You want it not to be very wide, so you don't get a lot of like tidal swell or wind. You probably don't want too many people boating on it, but you want long, so you've got a nice line of sight.
Yeah.
Scottish lochs are pretty good. Lake Minnewanka is really nice for this.
Canal's perfect.
Canals are pretty heavily trafficked, so you get a lot of kind of water swell. But as long as you get sort of a nice long line of sight, you're all right. Pick something on the opposite shore, you look at it, and then you get yourself right down to the ground, and you will see the bottom of it vanish behind the water.
The bottom of which?
The bottom of whatever it is you're looking at the opposite shore.
You've lost me there, mate. You've lost me. You've lost me.
How you feel now is how
Yeah,
I feel talking
that's it.
every 5 minutes.
All right. So are we agreeing that water? So you're saying that water, the surface top, water can't support itself. So what I'm saying is water is the surface top of it flat, as in.
Just quickly, when you say water can't support itself,
It can't. It's
I don't know what that means. What does that
it
mean?
can't. So if we put it in an egg cup, we won't get the surface top of the water taking the same as the bottom. It's no matter what, it's going to be flat.
I see what you're saying. So what you're saying
so
is,
we go to a bath swimming.
so what you're saying is that water will never exhibit a dome shape.
Anything, it can't.
Ooh, are you prepared to stand by that?
Oh, he thinks
unless
he's got it.
unless you're talking about an imaginary globe, you can see that.
Right,
But
okay. Get a coffee cup.
in a body of water.
Get a coffee cup.
Yes.
Okay.
Fill it right to the brim with water.
Yeah.
And then what you want to do is get a bunch of coins and just slide them in down the edge.
Okay.
You're being really gentle to not break the surface tension. You're
Surface
adding
tension,
more,
yeah.
and you can get it to dome.
Oh.
I've never heard that one. Okay.
It's
We could
exactly the
do
same
that.
force
We could
that
do that.
makes
It's
the
another
surface
experiment.
dome.
We've got loads of experiments going on here.
Oh, mate, we're going to go get a coffee cup. I think we're going to go get one.
Go on, let's try it now. So let's keep talking. So water. So why do you think they use the word sea level? Is water? That's why it's called level. So
No, it's level in the sense of height. It just means like pick a level,
sea
like
level,
an
that means
elevator.
you're on the ground of the earth, doesn't it?
It
So
means you're at
sea
the
level.
equipotential surface of the water on the planet. Yeah.
Oh, so sea level. So we know water has to be contained also, because it would just seek to find its own level. So if the Earth is 73% water, right? How can you have 73% flatness on a sphere?
Because it's not flat.
No, but that's my argument that it is, and it's not curved. So if water is flat, so we can go to every different part of the Earth and check out, see and go, flat, horizontal. That's why it's called horizon. It's horizontal. So if we go and check out every bit of Earth, and we know that water's flat, you can't get 73% of flat water on a sphere.
Okay, we're going to do the experiment. I'm so excited.
So are you saying
so
that the
I want you to
surface
do
top of this water just
Joan,
curve?
just to very quickly,
Might want to get some paper towels.
just to very quick, we might want to get some Paper towels, okay. Does it matter that these coins, again, you're not going to get the most out of this if you are listening to it in the car right now, although it probably is going to be quite funny to listen to. But if you want to watch us do the experiment live, then head over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Pigoted. Does it matter that we've got pounds and 2p's and 50p's and all sorts?
Shouldn't do, no.
What's the outcome of this going to be before we do it, Ben?
That's going to curve.
So the top water's going to give a convex.
Right, and I'll tell you what I'll do.
This is going to be pretty...
Right. So I'll tell you what we'll do. I'll do it.
What do you think the outcome of this is going to be?
What do I think? A wet table. That's what I think the outcome's going to fucking be.
Probably not wrong.
A very wet table. That's why we got some paper towels. What we'll do is are you happy, before we start the experiment, are you happy with me doing it? I'm a neutral party.
Yeah, you're in the middle, yeah.
And I'm rubbish with shit like this, but I've not got a dog in the fight. If we can get this water to curve over that coffee cup, then potentially that will completely eradicate this whole water.
Is there anything else you can explain where water, besides the supposed globe, is there anywhere else or something else that you can point out, another demonstration where it curves? Well, anything in mind at all, Ben?
Well, we're going to do it now, so just give us a sec.
But anything else as he's setting it up, Ben?
Water specifically or any liquid?
Any liquids at all?
So,
any fluids?
So hang about a minute.
Well, water, no, because we speak about water. So that's about
very quickly. How high am I filling this? Right to its right.
You want it right to the brim.
Right to the brim.
As you can get.
Yeah. Okay. Well, sorry. Move it away from the mic. That is a good idea.
So this is not a demonstration of gravity. This is a demonstration of surface tension.
Tension.
Just to make
do you
sure
stand by everything in physics, Ben? Everything you've been taught in physics is a fact.
What do you?
No.
Can you just
go a bit
have
more?
A look at that?
You can go more in there.
I'd go a touch more. So it's then again the coins are going to go and it's going to flow over. Whoa.
Right.
Now, you're happy with that?
How are we going to prove that it's going to?
Are we happy with that?
I would suggest getting right down level with it with a phone camera. Taking a photo, you'll be able to see.
At the minute, is the top of water to that? Is it flat at the minute?
It's slightly convex.
Not having that.
So,
what would you say there, Fred?
Well, to my naked eye, it's flat.
Yeah.
To my naked eye, it's flat. But if we got a super powered fucking camera or something,
I've got one right there.
It might look different.
Yeah.
Well, let's.
Can you see a little reflection line right at the edge? It's not the edge of the coffee cup, but is the edge of the water.
Oh, I thought it was the edge of the coffee cup.
That's the water curving upwards at the edge because of surface tension.
Pardon?
The little reflection line at the edge of the water is the water curving upwards towards the edge of the coffee cup as a result of surface tension.
How do we know that?
Because that's how reflections work.
Okay. So if it was coming right,
if it was perfectly flat,
we're getting sidetracked here. Yeah. How many pennies am I putting in? What am I doing?
So just start with one.
And I just drop it in.
You don't want to drop it in because you don't want to make a splash. Okay. You want to, from the very edge, just place it in until it's like halfway into the water and then let it go.
Like how you boil an egg.
Sure.
Just on the edge.
You don't boil eggs, do you?
I've never watched you boil an egg, so I wouldn't be confident saying that.
When you have a saucepan full of boiling water, you don't just fucking chuck eggs in because that'll crack the egg and then that'll make boiling it pointless. So you just gently place it in so that it can boil and not crack.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you don't want your fingers to touch the water because that'll break the surface tension as well. Right at the edge.
Like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to drop it.
You're going to have to let go, but it should be fine.
I'm so excited. This probably makes dreadful fucking podcasting, but I'm so excited. Right, fine.
I think a lot of people are going to be saying, I can't even believe they're doing this experiment because everyone knows it's the water surface top to be flat.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, good idea.
Okay. So, do I keep doing this for all these?
Yeah, just keep going.
Okay.
You
are listening to Pigoted Podcast. Watch a man drop pennies into a coffee cup filled with water in order to prove whether or not water is flat.
Ben, do you know the spherical trigonometry of this globe that you believe in?
As in, can you do
measure curvature calculation?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What is it? I do know myself. So if you're at point A and I walk away from you,
I can play Buckaroo. I feel like it's Jenga, you know, with the towers and shit. This is a fucking party game. Sorry, you were saying about trigonometry.
Spherical trigonometry. So what if I walked away from you for a mile? How far was how far do I have gone down?
A mile?
A mile.
Not at all. I'd be able to see all of you.
So in a mile, there's no curvature. So do you believe there's measurable curvature on this globe?
Yeah.
Yeah. What, do you know that formula?
For the curvature of the Earth?
Yes. Do you know the curvature formula? It's spherical trigonometry.
I have a feeling you're going to tell me what it is.
No, I'm asking you, do you know it? Without me telling you, that's what do you, yes or no?
Off the top of my head, no, I don't.
So you don't know the spherical trigonometry. That's great. That it's.
What am I looking for here, mate?
Always
looking for some more money.
You know what? I think I know what you mean, and you know, it might look like there's a little bit of convexity in the top.
So we might need some more money.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
This game is 100% pay to win.
Fiver?
Yeah, I'll work.
Have you got any coins?
I know what you mean. So it's just about to rise on the rim of the cup.
You'll get it up over the level of the rim.
Yeah, and then would the surface of that be the top of that? Never mind the rim of it, would the surface be top?
Oh yeah, the very top will be roughly flat, yeah.
Yeah, well that's what I'm saying. The top of the water's going to be flat, so I think this is a waste of time.
Well, it's entertaining anyway.
I'm having fun.
Yeah.
I'm having fun if nothing else. So that's not really proved anything.
No, because he's just admitted that the surface of that water again is going to be flat. Everyone knows physics.
Well, the surface of that water excluding the very edge.
The globe, the globe.
I'm going to be honest, I've never felt more disappointed in anything in my fucking life than that guy.
Okay, physics.
There was so much tension behind that for me, and then nothing happened.
So, I think we all know this. In physics, the second law of aerodynamics is what?
Second law of aerodynamics?
Aerodynamics.
I do not know what the second law of aerodynamics is.
The second law of aerodynamics is to have a barrier between a pressurized system and a non-pressurized system, like a can of aerosol. Isn't it? Well, you should know that.
Oh, so this is going to be about how does the atmosphere stay on if space is a vacuum.
Correct.
Cool.
Right, okay.
Hey, now, because we're now going off the ball into space, he's happy now. It's all
it's great.
Fairy stuff.
I mean, I can do stuff on the ball as well.
So
just go back a moment. So you were saying if you go a mile away from me, how much of you is hidden?
Let's stick to the curvature.
How much
I can prove to you that we're not on a curved Earth.
Go on.
Right? Is because the spherical trigonometry that you didn't know is for the first mile is 8 inches. So
No, it's not.
Okay, what
It
is
is absolutely
What
not.
is it then? You don't know it?
Okay, if you're roughly 2 meters tall, then you can do a really simple bit of Pythagoras' theorem, and you can determine that your visible horizon on the curvature of the Earth is about 5 kilometers away, about 3 miles. So if you're a mile away from me, I can still see all of you.
So when could we start measuring this Earth then? So you're saying you can't measure it over a mile?
Just to stop you a minute. What did you say the second law of thermodynamics? The second law of thermodynamics was
Aerodynamics.
Aerodynamics, sorry.
Aerodynamics. Yeah. All right, okay.
Which is you need a barrier between two pressurized systems, a negative and a positive.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. So would you agree on that?
No.
So a can of aerosol needs to be, that's a pressurized system. So as soon as you opened or put a hole in that can of aerosol, it would equalize itself out.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that's correct. The second law of thermodynamics, is to a pressurized system, there's got to be a solid barrier between the two. Would you agree?
No.
Why not?
Okay, so you ever climbed a mountain?
Pardon?
Have you ever climbed a mountain?
Yeah, on Sunday, it's snowing.
Did you?
Yeah.
Fucking lad.
Just flew up there on my own.
How long did that take?
2 hours. I was stopping to a few people, but that dude making them clouds there and these planes giving off the Israel. So that's all. But 2 hours just
Did you do it in the morning and at night?
I went in my car, slept in my car. I've got a estate hole, just put me blow up bed and that.
Oh,
all that, and just got up, bang.
Dead early in the morning.
Up there, yeah.
You should have left a couple of fucking cups of water out. They'd been nice and cool for you to go to the mountain.
Yeah.
Ice, pure ice.
Yeah.
Go on. So you have been up a mountain.
So you have a mountain. You find it starts to get a bit harder to breathe. Yeah. Air gets a bit thinner. Cool. So what's happening there is the density of the air decreases as you go up.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is the air molecules have a distribution of energies. Some of them are moving around really fast, some of them are moving around really slow. The ones that are moving around really slow don't have enough kinetic energy to get very high. So you get lots of dense air low down, gets less dense, less dense, less dense, less dense, less dense. Eventually it just fades away.
Same goes in water. I've done my scuba diving course. It goes the same if you
Exactly. So it's not a case of you've got a block of really high pressure and a block of really low pressure. Because if you want to do that, you need a barrier between them. What you've got is a smooth gradient from dense to not dense, held together by gravity.
I feel like you could say the same for this podcast.
That goes against the second law, though, doesn't it? So you're saying that between space and Earth, do you believe Earth is a vacuum? Space is a vacuum.
Yeah, I mean, as close to a vacuum as you can get naturally.
A vacuum,
yeah,
that's what they say. That it's a vacuum. We're in a pressurized system. But as we know, the second law is it should have a solid barrier through. But that's an explanation what you're saying.
So you just Googled the second law of aerodynamics?
No.
I Googled it and I couldn't find what I wanted, so I just gave up.
So, but we all know, back here in reality, we all know a pressurized system has to be contained in a container, like a can of Vertisol.
Okay, you say you've done scuba diving, right?
Soda, yes.
So you've gone down, pressure's much higher. You've come up, pressure's much lower.
Yeah.
There's no barrier there. You've got two different pressures right next to each other.
Yeah, but I can't even ask an explanation for that.
He's right, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
So
I just find it hard to believe that space is a vacuum and we're not, and there's no barrier.
But when they say vacuum, I mean, I mentioned this last time. When they say it's not a true vacuum, there's nothing in it. It's to all intents and purposes, it's so fucking big, it might as well be a vacuum. Is that not
there's
right?
a bunch of stuff floating around in it. Bits of
it's like
interstellar
there's
gas
asteroids and
dust,
shit. Just
asteroids.
fucking. Do you know what I mean? NASA's fucking tea flowing about or whatever.
Are you a fan of NASA? Have you seen some of the production that they do where it proves that the hoax in it?
He is not a fan of NASA.
I'm not a NASA fan. Now,
Well, yeah, I mean, if you believe in a flat Earth, you can't believe in space travel.
So
No, but
we
just
had
in
this
NASA.
last time. So we had this last time, and we had a little disagreement over. You mentioned that the UK Space Agency was founded by NASA, and I said that can't be the case because it's a different government.
they're all the same. What I say is they're all the same people in these space agencies all over the world. They're all under the same umbrella. What I said. So
That's true.
Have the UK Space Agency ever been on the moon?
I don't know off the top of my head.
They haven't, have they?
No, I'm afraid the
Have
UK
they
Space
not?
Agency has never landed.
No,
on the
they've
moon.
never been on the moon.
useless
So
pieces
they're
of
useless.
shit.
That's what I'm saying. They're useless. We haven't been back to the moon.
I mean, there's other useful things to do than go to the moon.
What have they done? What's
Come
the
on,
best
we'd
thing they
love
used
to
for
go
the
back
UK?
to the moon.
I don't actually know off the top of my head.
Do we?
UK Space Agency.
They were only founded 10 years ago.
Yeah.
All right. Well, give them.
probably just about
They've only had a
people, I'd say.
decade.
Yeah.
And I mean, the last year and a half was COVID, so they can't fucking
yeah.
really only had 8.5 years to. I mean, to be fair, I've been doing stand up for as long as the UK Space Agency's existed, and to be fair, we've both accomplished fuck all.
Yeah.
So I'm more than happy to go along with that. You can go 10 years doing something and not get fucking anywhere. Go on.
Yeah. What was we before you said that?
We'll talk about NASA. You don't-
Dynamics. NASA. Do you believe everything that NASA put out? What would you give them out of 10? As in, they give us the full truth and things.
Yeah, probably pretty much 10.
I would have
So
said.
you've never seen none of where they're on strings and harnesses and there's bubbles coming up next to them when they're supposedly doing the spacewalks and things. You've never looked at the opposite thing to narrative. See, because when you're doing things like this, you've got to look at the, people say, oh no, that's sort of good, and they go to space and doing that. But then once you see if, the faking all the productions that they do, most of the productions. So, yeah, you've never seen none of that because you can see loads of things where it's got green, they're using green screen and things. And bubbles, that's why I said last time, #bubbles in space, where bubbles are coming up next to the spacesuits and things. Do you know what? A spacesuit has never been tested in a pressurized system as well. They didn't test them in a pressurized system before they went up to space neither. You believe in the landings then, I suppose, yeah?
I do, yeah.
But I'd imagine that I mean, would you agree that NASA is full of clever people?
No, full of Freemasons. Just
But-
full of deceiving people.
we had one on last
Have you
week.
had on your Mason?
We've
Has
had
he
a
been
Freemason
I was
on.
Man on last year. You should have asked him, and he would have said, "Oh, definitely, they wouldn't be astronauts otherwise, because you've got to be in the astronaut. Everyone wants to be an astronaut, so you've got to be in the club to get in."
Do you know how you become a Freemason?
Yeah, you have to get someone has to offer you to go in.
Nope.
What?
You can literally just go online.
Can you?
Yep.
Start a lodge. You start off.
No, not start lodge. You can be accepted into one. So you literally, I actually filled out, I filled out the form during the break because I couldn't believe that you. I thought
you can just do it.
So I thought it was like the Stonecutters off Simpsons, where you have to like save the life of a stonecutter or be the son of a stonecutter, and like that. But you can just fill out a form online. And I didn't believe it, but yeah, you literally can.
You haven't looked at the alternative information, like something's called a funny thing happens on the way to the moon. And that shows you them in a high altitude craft with a round window and forging it. So that just...
But what I'm saying...
Did you look at that?
Have you heard of the Lunar Retroreflector program?
Pardon?
Lunar Retroreflectors.
No, I might have if you mention a bit more of it.
1969, Apollo 11, they land on the moon. One of the things they do is set up a bunch of what are called retroreflectors, which are kind of like mirrors, but they're more like the road signs on highways.
Yeah.
They reflect the light really closely back at you rather than distributing it. Yeah.
All right, so like little cat's eyes.
Yeah, similar to that.
Cat's eyes for the moon.
So they're designed so it doesn't really matter what angle the light hits them from, it goes back the way it came.
Okay.
And the thing you can do, which I have done, is point a laser at one. Because you can find the location on the moon pretty easily. You can point a laser at it, and you can measure the light that gets bounced back.
Really?
I have heard people saying that, but I've never seen it
That'd be
demonstrated.
pretty fucking cool. Do you want to...
It was actually on an episode of The Big Bang Theory.
So how expensive...
Theory, I like the way you use that word,
How-
theory, because heliocentric theory, Big Bang theory. So that means it's someone's imagination.
But
That's
isn't it...
not how scientists use the word theory.
So isn't... anywho...
Well, that's what they label it as.
How
Big Bang
expensive...
theory,
how
don't they?
expensive is the laser that you need to point at?
So the one I used was actually owned by the university, so I don't know off the top of my head, but it doesn't need to be colossally powerful.
But you couldn't use like a laser pen, could you?
No, laser pointer, you'll get atmospheric attenuation or
Okay.
ruin that for you.
Yeah.
How do you set something like this up? Could you go to the university and say, can we have a go?
Yeah, probably.
Great.
Should we do it?
Yeah, definitely. Would you know anything about the Nikon P900 camera, the zoom camera? Have you ever seen footage, close-ups of a star or the moon? It's pretty impressive,
Specifically
isn't it?
taken with a Nikon P900.
So
Pardon?
Have I ever seen footage specifically taken with a Nikon?
Have you seen how close they get to the
I've never
luminaries?
sorted
is that...
out.
That's the...
Pardon?
I've never sought out footage like that. I might have
Have you
seen it
seen?
and not
Are
known.
you aware of?
Is that the
what?
camera that you brought?
yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a good camera. It's fucking great.
Gets right up close to the moon. No, I thought just to see if you've
The pictures that you took of the moon were excellent.
footage.
Yeah.
pictures,
yeah. It looked great, and it looked very obviously like a moon.
But the one of Venus,
But-
you said it looked
but what-
pixelated.
Because it's so far away.
I'd say that was atmospheric conditions.
But if you look at the two pictures together, the moon is clear as fuck. You can
'Cause
literally see.
it's brighter.
You can
It
see
gives its own light source.
But surely that's also because it's so much closer. So much closer.
It could, you know what? The
So-
moon could be. And last time you was going, well, that's a smoking gun. The moon could be closer than Venus than what a shot. I don't know.
But you mentioning that things were under a dome, yeah?
I can't go down it. I'm just saying that's what they say in a geocentric cosmology.
but the
A
dome would
so I'm
have
just
to be-
explaining on behalf of flat earthers.
The dome would have to be many
we don't know what it
millions
is.
of
That's
miles.
out of our reach. As a firmament.
I didn't ask you this last time, but I remember driving home and thinking, Alex, I should have asked that. So you mentioned the dome thing.
The firmament, people say that in the firmament, it was in The Simpsons, wasn't it? Fucking
Well, I think Truman Show. That's
Truman
the thing
Show, that's
that
what I was
think.
going to say.
So who built it?
I don't know, do I? I don't know. But it states there's a lot of people saying
But-
they've got the same.
But if that existed, who built the
Okay,
thing?
yeah. Well, he's aware of Operation Paper, Operation Fishbowl, all these Arctic, all these missions that they've done.
No, but this sounds amazing. Go on.
So what about Paperclip? must have
Paperclip was the
Paperclip.
bringing of the Nazi scientists after
With the
World War II.
Nazis.
They did what, sorry?
The Nazis. So there's documents saying of a firmament by them. The Nazi scientists got with the US, yeah? Well, because the US brought in... do you know why it's called Paperclip? Because the scientists they want from the Nazis, the Americans wanted them, so the ones who knew was good, they put a paperclip on their file.
Werner von Braun is the...
Yeah, he's the
more or less
space
the
rocket, the
father of
K2.
modern, like, rocket travel.
Yeah.
He designed and built the rockets that landed on London during the Blitz.
He's a Nazi.
Really?
Quoted as saying,
Yeah.
the rocket performed perfectly, it just landed on the wrong planet. There's a man with a very flexible moral code.
But right, I'm just throwing this out there, right? Let's say you were at war with a country. Let's say you were the leader of a country, right? Called,
Angola.
What?
Angola.
Angola.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
fuck
country
it.
or the leader.
Let's say you.
His name's Angola.
Let's say you, a white Scouse man, was the leader of Angola, right? And let's say you were at war with some other fucking country, right? And you won, right?
Yeah.
And you won everything. And afterwards, this other country were quite technologically advanced, but you still beat them, right?
Yeah.
Surely you would want to nick all the best and brightest.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't look at that and go, oh, this is some sort of conspiracy or anything. I look at it and go, that's what
It's open
that makes
out
sense.
There. But there's a lot of all these operations. You had Operation High Jump. That's where they got to the Arctic Circle, yeah. And then they had to, that the first mission was to get up on the 200 cliffs, like ice walls, yeah. That's that's why it's called the Arctic Circle. Now, Captain Cook in his journals,
The Arctic Circle is the point where if you're further, the Arctic Circle is if you're further north, Antarctic if you're further south. If you're within either the Arctic or Antarctic Circle, there is a period of time during the year when you get either perpetual day or night. That's the definition of the Arctic or Antarctic Circle.
Pretty sure I watched a horror film about that once.
Was it called 30 Days of Night?
Yes!
All the vampires.
And it was fucking poo.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
It was I thought it was
A lot of people
good
say it's
crap.
the Arctic Circle because that's the ice wall of the geocentric system, keep it all in. Now, you heard of Captain Cook?
Does that mean that global warming's a way worse problem on the flat Earth?
Oh shit! Yeah.
So if the ice wall melts,
It's
the
never a
water's gonna
problem.
run
It's
out.
just the ecosystem. It's supposedly
But
to just.
what would happen?
There's no problem.
What would happen? It's so if there's a 200. I think what he's getting at is if there's this massive ice wall.
I've seen it. Yeah, I could show you footage of
But
this ice wall.
if it
from an
melts
aeroplane.
because of global warming,
There's no global warming's a hoax.
but is it?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Well, there's half of the scientists. You've got.
Fuck you, Greta.
Yeah, you've got. Oh no, you've got loads of scientists saying there's no global warming issue, and you've got science who says there is. So it's 50%.
All right,
It is
let me ask
nowhere
you.
near 50%.
So
scientists agree on what who's ever funded.
So
them,
I
don't they?
spoke to the first episode that we ever did on this was about climate change, and okay, so
believe
with
it's
global
hoax,
warming, let me ask you this as a question, right? We are in what we now September now. And it's a fucking well nice day outside.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I've noticed this more, and I don't know if you lot have, but I've noticed that
Later in the year.
the seasons have tended to change a little bit. And actually, what we think of summer being June, July, August, now it tends to be later on. Yeah, and winter as well. You think November, December, January. Actually, it's February and, that kind of time where you get your colder stuff, isn't it? And it seems like there's a shift. Now, the girl that we had on, I say girl like she's like 6. She's a doctor. Yeah, we had a child. We had a child on the first ever episode of the show.
You literally have Greta Thunberg on.
Yeah, we literally had Greta, and she said, "How dare you?" at me many times, and then cried. But it took us 6 weeks to get here, so fair play to her for walking. So anyway, the woman that we had on, Dr. Sarah Clement, she says that she hates the term global warming.
Yeah, because they keep swapping the name because people keep saying.
She says she doesn't like that term. She says what she prefers is global weirding. Because when she talks about global warming, she says that people think it's just the Earth is getting hotter. But actually, what it's all about is that weirder things are happening. Seasons are changing. Natural disasters are happening with more frequency. And that's all tied in. Whereas if you just think of global warming, you're thinking of one tiny little thing on what is a massive, massive problem. You're shining your torch at a ball and just seeing a tiny little point on what is actually a massive, big issue.
Yeah, global warming, that's probably a different podcast in itself. So I believe it's a hoax. So
we'll have to get you and Sarah on.
Going, where was we with the? So Captain Cook on his journals, right, covered over 68,000 miles. Took him over 2.5 years, and he couldn't find an inlet to come on this supposed small continent. What's on the bottom of this ball? Now that is classed as hearsay. So on the Arctic Circle, let's say if he was thinking he was underneath a ball doing a 12,000 miles continent of ice. Right, he covered over 68,000 miles. Now you can look that up yourselves. Now, Richard Admiral Byrd, this is a big one. He's the biggest. He's the most dolled up Admiralty Arctic explorer. Richard Admiral Byrd. Have you heard of him? No. Right. So he comes back in the 50s. He's sitting there doing a television interview, black and white. And they go, he's getting interviewed, and they say, well, look, it's too busy up by the North Pole now. He said, by the South Pole. And he said, we've done a mission, we've come back, and we found more land as big as North America.
So let me go to the first thing, first of all. So you mentioned that Captain Cook was 68,000 miles.
He's covered, in his journals, he's stated down 68,000 miles.
Let's sort of ignore that figure, and let's just say that he covered a shitload more ground than what you would expect.
Yeah? Which doesn't, which sort of say it's not a continent.
So let's say, when you are walking around Liverpool, how do you find your way around? How do you find your way to the bombed out church or to Bold Street and stuff?
You want to say sat nav or something?
No. When you're walking around,
I don't know, just walk there. Just
and you recognise shit, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
You go, fuck, that's the fucking, you know, that's American pizza slice. That's the fucking, that's fucking.
There's the old rapids over there.
Yeah, there's that Greek place on the corner. Yeah, I'm fucking at the bombed out church, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you had, let's say you had to find in Liverpool, you said you had to find the bombed out church. Let's say we flattened Liverpool to the ground, right? And Liverpool was just a fucking wasteland, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say it was Birkenhead. Now, let's say it was just a wasteland. There was nothing there, zero, right?
Yeah.
And instead of having to find the bombed out church, you had to find a grain of sand.
Okay.
That's going to be an awful lot harder because it's much smaller, and also you're going to have no reference points to know where you're walking, where you're going. You're not going to know if you've walked down this way before because there's no streets, there's no signs, there's no nothing. And so let's add to the mixture that instead of it being a perfectly hot and warm day, there is visibility so bad that you can only see a foot in front of you. That's why I imagine the dude...
You were doing this on the last one.
That surely makes more sense. You're disorientated, so you're walking... You're not... It's not possible just to walk straight to the fucking... base of the earth or whatever. You go down a bit and then you go to the side and then you get lost and then you move around. Especially if you're doing this in the 1920s or whenever the expedition was. 1700s. Oh, it's a misconception, is Phil.
He wasn't just doing Antarctica, he was doing the whole ocean around it.
Yeah, so he ended up doing the whole ocean, the whole earth. Now,
it's a misconception.
He thought he was going to do misconception because he thought he was going around a 12 to 14 mile thousand continent on the bottom of the ball. So he kept going off 16 to 19 miles of his recognition every day and getting lost because he thought he was going around the continent. So I'm just stating that because we're going off track. I'm just saying that's being stated about it. You've got Admiral Byrd about the...
Well, I would say though, mate, that the reason that he kept going off track isn't because he was in fact walking around a big wall of ice around the world. I would say that it's so disorientating being in that environment with no way of navigating, and you're in the 1700s, so fuck knows what technology was like, that it's nigh on impossible to keep a straight course, no?
I mean,
Well,
if
he
you can see the
thought he was-
stars, you can use those.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So that's another. So all I'm saying, the North Star. So, but with that, I'm saying he was looking on doing a circumference of the continent on the thing, but he covered over 68,000 miles, which is impossible on a little what?
I'm watching, there's a recreation of what he did.
Yeah. Does it say he covered 68,000
Yeah, it
miles?
said he-
There you go. How can you do that?
He got lost, essentially.
Yeah,
He kept getting lost because he thought he was going out of the continent, but
And
he
he's
must
not
have been
the
going
best
out
navigator in
so,
history. He
so
accidentally
all
discovered a
I'm saying is that goes against a little continent on the bottom of this ball.
Well, not if you keep
supposed
getting
ball.
lost.
He kept getting lost, but he covered 68,000 miles.
Yeah, but
the
if you-
continent, the South
Yeah,
Pole's
but-
not supposed to have
Yeah, but
68,000 miles.
No,
How could he cover that?
No, because he kept going back and forth. He kept going up and down and round and round and
how
stuff.
do you know we never?
Well, sorry. Yeah, because that's
You're saying he went done this, done that.
Yeah.
Where are you getting that from?
from like reasoning, from logic. So as I mentioned,
He's going straight.
the conditions in the no, it's not possible to go straight. It's not possible because the conditions are so bad you can't see in front of you. If I tell you what we'll do.
Okay.
I'll pop a blindfold on you, and we'll walk the length of the car park here, right? And you will be off course.
You can put the blindfold on, Ben, like I don't fancy doing that, mate.
Yeah, I'll wander around.
But if you walk the length of the car park with your blindfold on, you're
Yeah.
going to be off course a bit, yeah?
Yeah.
So imagine, so that's what's happening.
No,
That's how he's walking
what I'm saying
68,000
is
miles.
he's covered 68,000 miles, which is it goes against the continent on the bottom of the ball.
No, he just got lost.
Oh, we got lost, but he was getting lost as well because he thought he was going around the continent, but he was
No,
going the other way.
the reason he's getting lost is not because he's going around in a circle, because he's going around a big ice wall. The reason that he's getting lost is because there's no visibility. He can't see literally that far in
You
front of
don't
him.
know that. You're just spitting that out. You can't say he had no visibility.
No, but you can, like, if you
I
go
don't-
to any of these places that have bad conditions, it's like when you mountaineer. People have been up mountains
them-
before, and they can't see in
I
front
know
of
that,
them.
but you're trying to tell me, we have that bad visibility.
Let's say
you
then,
don't know
let's
that. I
say,
don't know
let's
that.
say he had perfect visibility. Let's
Yeah.
say he had incredible visibility, and it was perfect. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing there. There's no frame of reference points. There's no nothing. That's why people get lost in the desert, because you can't walk forever in a straight line without veering off course.
Okay, all right. Well, I was just pointing out that Captain Cook, which everyone's heard of, he covered over 68,000 miles, and he never ever done a navigation.
I bet when he came back, his calves were fucking incredible. I bet he was
on a boat?
absolutely ripped.
Is he sailor?
You what?
Is he sailor? Is it Admiralty sailor?
Yeah, but it's also the 1700s, though, isn't
They
it?
couldn't even. They was just going next to the ice cliff. But moving on from that, Richard Admiral Byrd, he's the most known Arctic explorer. He's done the South Pole, North Pole. He's the one who took them all on Operation Paperclip, High Jump, Operation Fishbowl. Now, Operation Fishbowl was where they was sending projectiles up, and it was just hitting nothing in midair and exploding. So that's why they state there's a firmament, and that's not going on the Bible, because the Bible states a firmament, and loads of ancient civilization. But
I mean, a lot of ancient civilizations looked at the sky and went, it's probably shit up there.
probably, yes, a lot of probablys, yeah.
But like, so with regards to the firmament thing, the dome.
The heavens above
so
the
when
vault.
did they shoot stuff up?
In one of the operations, it was.
So 19, what, like
19...
early
1950...
1900s?
No,
1962.
No, well, that's when the... that was Fishbowl,
So
62,
So there must have been a dome.
That's
built
what they're saying.
prior.
That's what there's sort of evidence.
But
this dome.
So
like, you
hang
can't
about.
say who
So hang
built
about
it.
a minute. So here's my thing, Joe. Right? Is how can you not believe that they have the technology to go to the moon, but believe at the same time that they have the technology to build a giant fucking?
I don't know who's built a dome or whatever. I'm just saying that.
But you have to admit though that if you've got the technology to build a big fuck off dome, then you've got the technology to go to the moon. No.
So who are you saying has built this dome?
Well, let's say a big agency has built it, because it'd have to be some sort of big secret government agency, wouldn't it, to build a big dome over the world?
They do say intelligent designer. When you're a creationist, when you're into creation, it goes as intelligent designer. I can't prove anything about the dome. That dome, all I'm saying is that's what they say. The stars stuck in the firmament, the dome. So that's
Okay.
that's what they say. But I don't claim that. I'm not going to try and say to you, there's a dome, because I can't prove it.
I think the dome thing's cray. For me, I can't work it out.
I can't. Look, I can't. But I'm just saying to you, that's what flat earthers do.
In my head, I think when I think the dome, I think Truman Show. So I think of a man-made physical structure. Now, the thing around faking the moon landings is, I imagine you'd only fake the moon landings if you didn't actually
get there.
Yeah, if you didn't have the technology to get there. Well, because why would you be able to get there but just can't be arsed? Like you'd only do it if you couldn't physically get there. But for me personally, it's harder, surely, to build a dome over the whole world than it is to put someone on the moon.
That's unbelievable about domes and that. I wouldn't start trying to sell any domes. I'm just saying that's what it states in the Bible.
Okay.
And we got onto it. You've just said about
so
the technology.
Earth, yes, dome Earth, no, that's too far.
You've just said about the technology.
Yeah.
Now, do you not think why NASA haven't been back to the moon? Now, do you know that Don Pettit, whatever his name is, little Don Pettit, he's an astronaut. Now, he got interviewed and he said, we haven't got the technology to go back to the moon. It's a painful process. Haven't you heard that? Well, he stated that. So that's coming from NASA.
So wait a minute. Right now we don't have the technology to go back to the moon?
Right now, we don't have a rocket program that can get us there.
Oh, cool.
Just because they dismantled everything.
Oh, yeah.
So why did they?
Well, a number of reasons.
Don't guess.
I'm not guessing
know,
here.
just say.
Right?
I don't like all this.
There is a limited amount of scientific value to doing the same thing over and over again. So you talk about repeatability. Yeah. So you want to be able to repeat your experiment. Brilliant.
Yeah.
We've been to the moon. We've done a bunch of missions.
6 missions, yeah.
Yeah. And there's a limited amount of value to sending humans back to the moon because we've already done that. And we can send up like rovers.
That's one of the biggest conspiracy. Did they or didn't
so it's
they?
Like,
so if that's what you believe, that's just a belief though.
But so here's the thing though,
I've bounced lasers off stuff they left behind.
So surely if we can bounce you if we can arrange it so that you can bounce a laser.
I'd like to do that. I've ever heard about this laser.
If we did it though, then wouldn't that prove that we went to the moon?
Well, no, because they could have done it in a studio. Oh, if there's a late thing on it.
So if you
possibly
yourself point a laser at the thing at exactly where they tell you that they've planted it, and the laser comes back, then that'll prove.
Yeah, we'll do that, and we'll speak about that afterwards.
Let's do it. That'd be great. Do you know what?
So they haven't got the technology to the moon. I think that's a big red herring here. Right, they haven't got the technology to go back.
It's not that they dismantled it. So let's think about this in another way, Joe. Right, I love doing podcasts with you. Right, this is the second one that we've done.
Yes.
The first one I learned absolutely loads. Yeah. The second one I'm going to learn absolutely loads. Yeah. Now let's say I did 20 with you.
Okay.
After 20, it's going to be a bit like we've covered this. We've had this conversation. Yeah. Well, that's basically it. So,
and in terms of the whole, we haven't got the technology. It's like saying we haven't got the technology to build a Model T Ford.
Oh right, okay.
It's the thing we used to do. We built an entire infrastructure around it.
Do you think so? I think that's a bit sort of foolish if you believe they can't make new technology to go there. Now
they can.
Well, why don't they then?
Because there's value in doing it. Because there's other space missions we can be doing.
Mate, they've been chatting of going to Mars for fucking 30, 40 years. They've only just supposedly landed a fucking rover on there. So all
We've had
that
Mars rovers for decades.
We're going. Oh, I thought it was just recently.
We
haven't sent people to Mars. Now, another astronaut has said we can't get out of low Earth orbit.
Yep.
We can't. Is that correct?
In terms of manned spaceflight, yeah.
So we can't get out to low Earth orbit, so that means we've never been to outer space. The Orion capsule, an astronaut speaking about the Orion 6, right now we can't go to low Earth orbit. Is that correct?
Yes, but if they built something, then they could.
Yeah, so they can't. So that they're hoping to build the Orion capsule, to go there, but they've got issues with the Van Allen belt. Is it? So we can't go to there. We can't go. So that's really a red flag to me. Now, did you know all the photographs and the telemetry data that they took of all the 6 missions? Yeah. Guess what? It's gone missing.
I didn't know that.
Well, that come on, that's sussy, is it, Freddie?
What if?
Gone. It's don't know where it's gone. We don't know.
But is that true though? Is that true?
Isn't that's true? Yeah. Could you get that up, please? Because the telemetry data that they took on the 6 moon missions has gone missing. They go, oh, we haven't got it. We don't know where it's gone.
Yeah.
So if they've now destroyed it, the best thing for mankind, and they've lost it.
Did you used to?
NASA's full of shite. Honestly.
Did you used to do stuff as a kid that you haven't done in ages? Did you used to do cartwheels?
You're funny the way you find these angles on everything. You go, it's totally off
so
what we're on about.
When you were a kid, did you used to do handstands and cartwheels?
I still do handstands.
Do you do cartwheels?
No.
No, but you could when you were a kid.
Yeah.
So if I asked you to do a cartwheel right now, you couldn't do one.
If you put money, you probably could.
But you could go away and learn how to do a cartwheel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't mean that you've never done a cartwheel. It means that you did it, and then you stopped doing it, and then you forgot how to do it, but you could learn how to do it again.
We're giving them over £20 billion every year.
But you understand, you understand what I mean with the cartwheel thing?
So you're going a cartwheel on going back to the moon?
Yeah. So look, so you used to do cartwheels when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And then you got bored of them or whatever, right? And you've not done them for
I'll
ages.
probably do them again. I'd probably be able to...
Yeah, but you won't be able to do one right now. You'd have to go away and learn how to do it again, and you could do it again, yeah?
Yeah.
That's what the moon landings are.
The
Plus
moon
you've got to get
landings,
together the
but they haven't
political
got the
will.
technology to go back. They're saying we can't
No,
go
it's
back.
no, it's not. Yeah, but the reason that they're saying we can't go back is because they've essentially disbanded the technology, just like you've forgotten how to do a cartwheel because you haven't done it in so long. But you could learn how to do it again. It's not. You're not saying I could never do a cartwheel again.
Yeah.
You're just saying
You can't go now.
I can't do it right now, but I could learn how to do it again.
I thought they'd be on the ball. NASA, I thought, yeah, they'd be able to. So they can go to Mars, but they can't go to the moon. So the Mars is further than the moon.
Yep.
So isn't that sussy to use?
So, okay, we don't have the technology to go to the moon right now. We also don't have the technology to go to Mars right now.
Well, we can send rovers and that there, so you believe.
Yeah, and we can land stuff on the moon really easily.
So when was the last time we put something on the moon? Because we haven't for fucking 50 years or whatever.
Don't know off the top of my head.
There you go. The moon's the most thing we can see, the most visible thing.
Yeah, but they're bored of it. They're bored because they've been there so many fucking times. Yeah. They've got to the point now where they're sticking fucking...
Big question mark. There's a man who goes around doing an interview and he says, I'll give you to all the astronauts, I'll give you $5,000 now if you put your hands on this Bible and swear you went to the moon. Every one of them's punched them. Right, he picked up the
I love how we keep
it's called Astronauts Gone Wild. Have you ever seen it, Ben?
I've seen the footage of Buzz Aldrin punching a guy.
Well, there you go. So they're lying.
If you're the sort of person who's going to strap yourself to 3,000 tons of rocket fuel and light the fuse, you're not going to take shit.
Okay. You know the Challenger
you
disaster? The Challenger disaster in the 80s, it all blew up. All there's 6 astronauts and all that. They're still alive.
But so here's the thing.
They're still alive.
So
they're professors and that now. You can look them up yourself, see photographs of them. What I'm saying,
I'm not going to accept this person looks a bit like that person as evidence for we didn't go to the moon.
If you do proper research, you'll find out that. So they deceived us saying it blew up. So
let's just put a pin in it for a second. So the reason I imagine that the astronauts are punching him is not because they've got, you figured out my secret, so I'm going to punch you. I imagine that if you've done something that's so, it put your life on the line, you know what I mean? Let's say, for example, that you saved a drowning child or something like that, and you nearly died yourself, but you saved them, and everyone thought you were a hero. Yeah. If some guy came up to you in the street and went, you never did that, you faked it, then
he does it every single one. But everyone and just goes, look, I'll leave it alone. I'll leave it alone. Humanity's best achievements in humanity. So just do it and I'll leave it alone. $5,000.
Second best. What's the best?
Eradication of polio.
Oh, okay.
So none of them do it. So it's just all these things I'm saying is really sussy, and you go, but what if this and that? So that by that alone, if you watch, there's a thing called moon landing. If you watch a thing called A Funny Thing Happens on the Way to the Moon, you can see them astronauts blagging it. It's like putting around in a high aircraft trying to do it. So moon landings is, let's go back.
If you want to go looking for footage that looks like people faking the moon landing, you will find it.
No,
because
this
a lot
is
of
real.
The
it's an
training
award-winning documentary.
So I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what we'll do, right? Because we are still no nearer our resolution on this matter. But we are going to finish the episode. We're going to have a break, and then we're going to record Pigoted Extra, which is extra content just for our Patreons. So if you want to carry on and continue listening to this fascinating conversation, then you can. Patreon.com/Pigoted. Sign up, and you get access to Pigoted Extra, which is an extra show, as well as exclusive content. You get deals on merchandise. There's ticketing for live events. Access to Discord, and you're helping to keep the show going. So if you like it and you want to keep it going, then just chuck in a couple of quid. Genuinely, if everyone did that, then it'd cover the podcast and then some. But here's what I am going to offer you, Joe. Here's what I'm going to offer you. I will sort it so that you can point a laser yourself at the moon and watch it come back, and we will record it live for Pigoted Extra.
And then we'll know. Then, well, I reckon that the moon is translucent, semi-translucent. That's why you can see the half of the sky through it when it's on half.
So when you...
No, you bloody can't.
You can. But there's blue. You can see half a moon on half crescent. Half that. If that was a solid rock, you'd be able to see the shadow bit of it, but you can see. And that's why the Turkish, the Turkish flag is half moon with a star in it. People, the British Astronomical Society have stated you can see a star through the moon, so it's not solid.
So, what we're going to do is, first of all, I'm going to arrange it so you can point a laser at the moon. Yeah. Then we're going to fly you to Turkey to meet the president, who's going to tell you more about the Turkish flag. Yeah. Right. Thank you ever so much for listening. Before we go, have you got anything that you want to plug, Joe?
No. F all.
No. Anything that you want to plug, Ben?
Critical thinking.
Critical, just in general?
The concept of critical thinking.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. This episode of Pigoted is sponsored by Taylor's Toys. Taylor's Toys are a sex toy company. They specialise in doing high-quality sex toys that won't fall apart after 1 or 2 uses. Head over to taylorstoys.co.uk, check out the amazing range that they've got on offer, and if you use the discount code PIGOTED at checkout, you get yourself 10% off on all products. Taylor's Toys. Spice things up in the bedroom. Thank me later.